Kia ora, sir.
I call Jonathan Young.
Thank you, sir. I'm very pleased to stand in support of this bill in its third reading, a number of bills it's been broken up into now. And just want to acknowledge the comments of my colleague across the House and that he's identified some very positive aspects around this piece of legislation. Sir, it would be obvious to see for any even casual observer that there's a tremendous amount of work being done by the Department of Corrections around the reintegration and rehabilitation of offenders. We see that the levels of literacy and numeracy are increasing. We see that there are a number of working prisons where prisoners are being trained in all sorts of good occupations and trades. And so this piece of legislation is enabling a number of, I think, very positive measures. One of the things it does, of course, is in terms of being able to have surveillance around offenders or prisoners who have been released from prison sentence of 2 years or less prior that they would not be able to have electronic monitoring, or those under intense supervision or post-detention conditions that may apply at the end of a home detention. What it means is that we will see a reduction in the ongoing victims of crime, because we will see and know where offenders are, and there will be areas where they cannot be, and instead of finding out about that later when they break those boundaries, they will be seen sooner, and there will be a response by the authorities around that. So what that will do, not only will it keep people safer, but it will also engender a higher level of compliance to those conditions. And so one of the things that we know in New Zealand society, except for a very few, that every person who enters a prison will come back out and live in the streets of our cities and towns and in our neighbourhoods. And so it's very important that there is this developing behaviour of the respect of law, and this will enable it to do so. But so another very, I think, important and positive attribute of this piece of legislation is that with the availability of electronic monitoring under intensive supervision, this could in fact reduce restrictions on offenders and improve the opportunities for employment and participation in our communities, simply because there is greater and closer contact between probation service and offenders. So in the past, that level of contact and observation may not have occurred. And because of that, there would have been tighter restrictions placed upon these people. But now, because of this, those restrictions, without compromising the safety of the public, can be relaxed to a measure that there are greater employment opportunities, greater ability to interact and engage and reintegrate in our communities. And so I'm very grateful to be able to stand in support of this. I'm very grateful to hear that parties across this House, by and large, are supporting this piece of legislation, and I think it will progress the work that Corrections does in reintegrating people into our society. Thank you, sir.